Hey, loves, welcome to Slapping with Truth. It's your lady queen A. So today, y'all ain't gonna believe who I got here today. I gotta tell y'all. So y'all ever heard of Ain't Cha Mama, right? So the young lady that I have today that's joining us, her mom was traveled as Ain't Cha Mama. So that's something exciting. I think we all have heard of that. And not only that, she is a baker, she is a healer. She has been on Oprah, so much I can go on and on and on, right? But I just had to let y'all know that the young lady we have on here is very special. So make sure that y'all tune in because she has so many things going on and so much to give. All right. So
Right.
without further ado, let me give it over to Aunt Flora. How are you doing today, Aunt Flora?
Hey, honey, I'm blessed. I'm doing okay. All right. Overworked and underpaid, but I'm doing well.
Hey, what thing we all can agree with that right there.
Yeah,
Shoot,
yeah,
we
yeah,
all, especially
yeah,
with
yeah,
nowadays.
yeah,
Now. So I want to talk to you first before we start. So can you tell everybody a little bit about what you do before we
yeah.
get into everything else?
So my story is that back in 2000, I became real ill and I was having a hard time functioning, walking, getting around. And I ended up going through a box that my mom had given me, and it had some recipes of my aunts in it. So it's actually my aunt who was the woman that portrayed Aunt Jemima. It was my grandmother's sister. And so
Oh,
I got her recipes and I started, trying to finagle some stuff around. My father was a chef in the Air Force. And I try to combine a little of his stuff and my Aunt Flora's and my creativity together. And I came up with this deep dish pie. And I was looking through some stuff and I realized that it was a cobbler, not a pie, but it was a cobbler. And making a long story short, the way I got started was there was a journalist for a food journalist for the Cincinnati Enquirer, and his name was Chuck Martin, and he had a recipe in a pie contest in the newspaper, and he wanted individuals to send in their recipes so that he could put it out in the atmosphere. And I was like, well, I tell you what, I called the newspaper. I got him on the phone and he said, well, I need your recipe. I said, the thing about my aunt's recipes is, you know how we do, we don't measure. So
yes.
all the cards had the ingredients, but not how much you put in it. So I was going on a wing and a prayer trying to, I knew how to make crust, but I wanted to use her butter recipe. And so I started with that. And I ended up taking some cobblers down to the Cincinnati Enquirer office. And when they tasted it, he was like, girl, you have to start selling these. I was like, I love ministry. So I ain't trying to sell no pies. And he said, well, you at least got to try. And that's how we kind of got started. My husband came home one day and he was like, okay, now you done been in the newspaper. We got to get something going. So he found a small store for me on Warsaw Avenue in Price Hill. And he came back and said, why don't we rent this space? I said, you ain't listening to me. I want to do ministry. I ain't trying to be no pie maker. You got to be really careful about what God has planned for you, So I was like, okay, let's try this thing. So once the newspaper went out, I got so many calls. We were in a small condominium and I was baking and I had cobblers on the table, on the nightstand. Pies was all over our house because I didn't have enough space to put them. And I called the lady. I said, well, if we can just rent it right now so I can just bring my tables and stuff up there and have room to put everything. And that's how we got started. And that was back in 1999.
Wow.
In
So in
1999. Yeah.
1999.
And so in about 2001, something around there, Chris Smitherman from the city council came up and he said, you need to move your space into Finley Market. And I was like, I mean, if I can get some help getting in there. So it ended up, we were one of the first African Americans inside the meat house at Finley Market. And so we were there for about 5 years. And that is where Martha Stewart came looking for me. She basically came to Cincinnati for a book signing, which I didn't know. Um, but she came in looking for me. And I was actually out delivering some pound cakes for a person's funeral. And my husband called me. He's like, honey, you got to get back here right away. He said, because I think there's somebody that you might want to know who it is. I said, well, is it a local journalist or who is it? He said, no, I think her name is Martha. And I said, Martha, I know Martha Stewart is not in Cincinnati. And lo and behold, when I got back to my stall at the market, she was standing there eating one of my chess pies. And she said, how would you
Wow.
like to come on my show? And I was like, she was with her daughter, her personal assistant, and her. So I walked out to her car with her, and she told her assistant, she said, get her information because I want her on my show. So the following week, somebody called me, and my husband was like, Martha Stewart's a person is on the phone. I was like, yeah, right. So I got the phone. I said, hello. She said, this is Alia from Martha Stewart's, and she wants you on her show. I was just kind of like freaking out. So I was like, what am I going to do? This is Martha Stewart. But anyway, nevertheless, I ended up going on her show, and I had to prepare. So I didn't want to give up my peach cobbler recipe. So I tried to, it was like her health month. So I said, I'm going to create another pie. And I thought, well, there's pot pies. So I thought, let me create something. And I worked with her head chef in New York, and I came up with a soul veggie pie. So it's a vegetable cobbler. You had it.
I was gonna speak on it. I was gonna speak to that. Let me say this before she move on. That vegetable cobbler pie, I tore it down, y'all.
Yeah, because it has collard greens in it and cabbage, no meat. I mean, I can put chicken in it if you want. But anyway, that's what I made on Martha Stewart's. And while I was there, she said, well, she had me almost on her whole show. That was crazy. She, I gave her the key to the city of Cincinnati. And she had me on her radio program with her. And she actually asked me what else did I want to do while I was in New York. I said, I would like to go on Broadway and see A Color Purple. She told her assistant, she said, well, get in touch with Oprah. And I was like,
oh my God.
Lo and behold, that was in 07, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 5 years later, I was on Oprah. 5 years later, I entered a contest for Oprah Winfrey. And I didn't think that I would really be chosen. I was at home, and we had one of the guys from our church videotape me for the presentation. And I got a call saying, this is one of the producers from the Oprah Winfrey Show. And we got your video, and we want to know, if you're still interested in being in the contest. I didn't even realize that there were 15,000 entries for this contest. And I was one of the 20 finalists. And I had to fly to New York.
15,000 entries.
Yeah. I had to fly to New York. And once I flew to New York, they narrowed it down to 10. And I was one of the 10 finalists. I got eliminated after the 4th contest, but I was one of the 10 finalists. And it was, I lived like a rock star. I was gone for 6 weeks. So it was like, she just treated us royally. We only got to see her a couple times, but her producer was Mark. What is Mark's last name? I can't think of, but he produces a lot of the shows that's on TV now. Mark Burnett, that was his name, Mark Burnett, and he produced all the the ones where they'd be going all over the country and doing all these stunts and stuff like that.
Right.
And so we were with Mark every day. We would have, like, once a week, we would have a call to Oprah where she would come into the meeting room, and we would, discuss what was going to go on or whatever. But I didn't act crazy enough, really. I should have acted like a fool on there, so I could have stayed on there longer. But they want drama.
Hey, they definitely do. They definitely do now.
That taught me a whole lot. But I'm telling you, when I got to my hotel room, I could not believe it. There was a big leather cowhide luggage at my door. And when I got into the room, it was, Martha Stewart did this too, though. Martha Stewart, she plethora us in our dressing room with like all kind of signed cookbooks and T-shirts and all kind of stuff. And so, but Oprah, when we walked in, it was like all kind of stuff that you can name from around the country, gifts and stuff like that, And then she gave us like a stipend to use in Hollywood to go shopping, stuff like that. I had my own stylist for my clothes. I had some outfits made for me while I was there. Yeah, it was crazy. I had dreads at the time all over my head, so I didn't have to have a hairdo person. But it was, God has been good to me. I can't complain. But we all have trials and tribulations that we go through. So we left Finley Market because my husband came down with the heart disease. So that was the end of that saga for about 5 years. And then we kind of like started all over again. But Aunt Flora was just an amazing woman. She was big in stature. I don't know if many people know that Aunt Jemima came about when they created this character, and they had to find someone that looked like this person that they image that they were looking for. So the first person was their cleaning lady, and there were about 4 or 5 after that. But then they got into a position where they needed more individuals to travel around the country and give out samples of pancakes and syrup and stuff like that. So they had an agency go throughout the country and interview women to be Aunt Jemima. And that's what my aunt was. Yeah, they picked her, and she had a territory like Louisville, Lexington, West Virginia, areas like that. And she would just go in this big old Aunt Jemima skirt and the bandana. That's why you see me with my bandanas on, because I got it from her. But yeah, and at the time it was in the 1940s, so she couldn't stay at a hotel. She had to sleep in a bus, the Greyhound bus station, and she traveled by Greyhound. And at the time, I was living in I grew up in a small town called Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, which is right outside of Pittsburgh. And so that's kind of like how the story goes. She used to come home, and I would be coming home from school. My friends believed me at the time. I didn't realize how historical this person was. It's going to make me cry.
Oh, don't cry.
Because I would hide. I mean, I would go down a different street. I didn't want people to know that this Black woman, who was my aunt, was working for these white folks, selling these pancakes and stuff. And I'm thinking, geez. But then I was always in her kitchen, always around her all the time. And so as time went on, years went by, and when I got sick, that's when I realized, look at God. He had me in one position when I was younger, when I didn't even want to recognize what this woman was doing. But now I'm bringing her back to life. You know, so it's like a recreation of what I had in my history all the time. But you got to be really careful how you conduct your life, because you never know how things are going to circle back around, and you got to use that same thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
That's how I ended up making my living, selling cobblers. You know,
so let's talk about that for a minute. I want to stop you for a second. So you said something earlier, and I don't think a lot of people understand that, because I'm curious to understand can you explain the difference between a cobbler and a pie? Because I think a lot of people think that cobblers are pies.
It is a form of a pie.
Oh, okay.
A cobbler is a form of a pie.
Yes.
Because you can have a slab pie, you can have just a round pie, you can have a cobbler. A slab pie is just like on the bottom and on the top with the crust in between. You can put it in a long sheet pan like a casserole dish. You know what I'm saying? Yes, but a pie basically doesn't always have a top crust.
Oh.
You know, a cobbler has covering over the fruit. A cobbler, you can make a 1-layer cobbler, but my cobblers are 3 layers. So I always make my cobblers I make sure I have the other thing is, some pies that you can use, you can make like a graham cracker crust, or some people make it without a crust on the bottom and they just put the crust on the top. But the main thing is the pie can be without a top. You know, you got a sweet potato pie, you got a pumpkin pie.
I never thought about that until you said something. So y'all listening? So now y'all can tell this is that ancient, that, you know, that all came from her, because this is the original right here. Because I'm young and we don't know nothing about that. So I had to ask for clarity for people in their 40s like me who don't know, because I didn't.
Yeah, because people don't know the difference between a yam and a sweet potato.
Can you explain that?
Because see, like one of them has a dark orange skin and it's more tart, and the other one has more of a lighter skin and it's more sweet. So it's just, you know what I'm saying? And I just try to talk to young people about when they're baking and stuff like that. I know from scratch is the thing. From scratch, you know, make your stuff from scratch. But if you're trying to learn and you're getting into it, you know what I mean? You use what you have.
Yes,
you know, if you got to go to Pillsbury, then that's what you do. And just, you know, fix up your filling really good and go from there. You don't always have to just do, I mean, nowadays it's like quick. You know, people don't have time to just be rolling out crust and make it. I make a lot of crust, so I try to have it in rolls and have it ready so I can just pull it out and do what I do, you know? But
yes,
I mean, that's just basically it.
Oh, thank you for that. I had to ask that because you said that and I was like, I gotta write that down because I don't think I know. So,
Yeah.
But when you explained it and I thought about it, I'm like, she right. Sweet potato pie, none of them has a crust or a layer on it. It's just like
they're
so
open face, like
yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I get that now. And so can you tell us, so when you went to go see Martha and Oprah, right? Did any of them, or maybe both of them, I don't know, did they give you any inspirational tips or tricks or words or say anything to you that stood out to you even now to this day?
One thing, only thing I remember about Oprah, people don't know Oprah's tall. She's tall. And Martha Stewart is tall also. Martha Stewart used to be a model. So when you walk into her studio, and that was so funny too, because when you get into the airport, your name is on a sign and stuff like that. And they're like, we looking for Aunt Flora, we looking for Aunt Flora. And then you get in the limousine. It's like, if I haven't ever enjoyed it before, I'm gonna enjoy it now. But Martha Stewart has like pictures of her in all kind of bathing suits and all kind of stuff in her studio because that's who she was. Oprah, what I remember is she said, you make all these pies and you must think I want to get fat or something like that, or you must want to fatten me up or something like that. When we got on stage to take all of our pictures together, it was like I was a little munchkin. She was like, you need something to stand on so you can be, But I mean, that's the only thing I can remember about Oprah. But she was really like to the point and said what she had to say, and she was gone. Martha Stewart was a little more. Martha Stewart called me into her private office at her studio while she had nothing on, no makeup, no nothing. She called me in there and we talked about a lot of different things. But she was getting her makeup done. Her feet were in a thing where she was getting her toes done and everything like that. So she was a little bit more personable, should I say? I know people don't think so, but she was really cordial for us. And that's really all I can remember. I just look at her daughter's name was Alexis, and I have a granddaughter named Alexis. So she signed a special cookbook to my granddaughter Alexis on behalf of her daughter Alexis. So we kind of cherish those cookbooks. But what's really funny about Hollywood and about famousness is that once you're there and they recognize you while it's that specific event, you better get all you can right then, because you might not be able to get back in to see them ever again.
Wow.
So with Martha Stewart, when the show was over and I left about a month later, she loved my hats. And if you go to Martha Stewart's archives and pull up Aunt Flora's Soul Veggie Cobbler, you'll be able to get the recipe. But if you pull up her archives and the show that I was on, she made a big deal about my hat and about my dreads. So I had made more hats and took them to New York, but I couldn't even get into her studio to give them to her. So it's just a thing where it's when the timing is there, when the timing is there. And then Oprah had us come back we were in Los Angeles for 6 weeks, but once the show was over, we came home. And probably about maybe a few months later, she called us to come back to a show in Pasadena because she wanted everybody that was a part of the show to be able to talk to journalists from around the country. So it was like a big gathering where there were all kind of journalists and stuff there asking us all kind of questions about what we did and how we did it and whatever. And it's real crazy how they do the shows, because you're there and they produce the show all the way through to the very end. Well, you can't really tell anybody. I had to sign like a 40-page contract.
Wow.
When I was called for the show, I couldn't tell anybody.
And now was that for Oprah and for Martha?
I couldn't tell my pastor. I couldn't tell my
Was that for Oprah and for Martha that you had to sign like a 40-page thing?
No. Hers was different.
Okay.
I had a contract with her, because you can't really, I remember this specifically about Oprah's. You couldn't go on another show or be in another TV thing for like a year after that was over.
Oh, wow.
Because speaking of those two, but those weren't the only shows. QVC about 2 years ago had my husband and I on a show in New York
Yes.
for USA Network. And we went on the show and we sold our cobbler pie filling, and we sold our coffee and our barbecue sauce and our seasonings. And it was for QVC. And that was in New York a couple years ago. So we've been blessed to be, what we're trying to do right now. I don't want to say reinvent Aunt Flora, but recreate who she is and what she's up to now. Because we've been down for the last couple of years. Our last restaurant was in Northgate Mall.
Okay.
And we've been closed. We've been down for about 2 years.
Oh.
Black folks get together so you can get your own real estate and rent it to your own people. Because after we left there, we tried our best to find a spot that we could lease that had the kitchen and everything already in it. $9,000 and $10,000 a month.
Wow.
That's what it cost. Yeah. So we thought, well, we better find some place that we can have a building and we can just renovate it and whatever. So that's where we are right now.
Wow.
Right
now.
I
want to get your so as you going through that, was your mindset before you hit this? So before you hit the newspaper, you had never been in a newspaper or nothing, right? So nope. What was the mindset that you had? And matter of fact, because you said you didn't even, let's get into this one, because you said you didn't even think you was going to get picked for Oprah show, right? Let's go into that.
No, not with all those entries. If you go on, okay. And I was in another contest with Carla Hall last year. So.
Oh, so what's the mindset? Can you tell us the mindset that you had to keep telling yourself to stay positive through that process?
Well, I feel like when an opportunity is presented to you, then you present it to God.
Powerful.
There ain't no runway without him in front of it. You know what I'm saying? He's the pilot. He's in charge of the whole airplane situation. So it's like, I love ministry and I always wanted to, but all of us have like 100 different gifts that God gives us. We just don't tap into them. And we're afraid. It seems like some Black folks are kind of now drifting into it, but afraid of failure.
Yes.
Without realizing that when one door closes, another one opens. And without realizing that sometimes when that door is closed, he's protecting you from something you don't even need to deal with. So that's where I see right now. I've been depressed, a lot of anxiety. I'm not used to working. Not working. I'm not used to doing something. But with God's help, we got to be patient. We not patient. We want it right now. We want to start at the top. Yes, I had to start in a small space in Price Hill. I didn't get to where I am now by starting out with my stuff in 100 different stores.
Yes, ma'am.
I started small. And then once that angel came and said, okay, this is what you need to do. It was like, when we were in Finley Market, honest to God, we started making the cobblers and people kept saying, you need to be cooking some greens. You need to be doing some fish. So we got another stall and we had a whole line of soul food and pies and cakes. And it was so crazy that people would come to us and say, hey, my mom is down the hall here getting some meat. And she makes some cobblers, but Aunt Flora, I hate to tell you this. Them cobblers you make, my mom's
ain't make them like you. They make them like you.
Good. She said, please don't mention that to them. And I was like, wow. Because it was just, I got into it full-fledged because I thought what God has for me is for me. I don't want to pass up this opportunity. So then I started bringing my granddaughter in the kitchen with me so she could know the legacy. So she could make the cobblers and know how to do the stuff too. And she can jam on it too. And right now she's 32 years old. If I left here tomorrow, she could still go downstairs and make them cobblers. So it's a thing where Black folks focus on generational. But nowadays young people is like, they want their own thing. They don't want to do what you got to do. Yes, but I still, they have other gifts that they're using now. But I still say, if something would happen to me, they're like, we got it. It ain't that we have to do it right now. But if something would go on, we ain't gonna let Aunt Flora die off. We gonna pick up where you know.
Yes, ma'am.
And then it's a thing where, since we've been closed for a couple of years, we have got the building where we are, and the location is amazing, but the building needed some tender love and care, so we had to gut the building. And being closed a couple of years, it was like, okay, this is going to take everything. So I'm not sure if that's where you want me to go right now.
Oh no, that's perfect, because I want to know a little bit before that, what was your mindset after you became the first African American on Finley Market? Like, I really want to know, because a lot of people think it's not possible, right? But you've done something that a lot of Black people think is not possible, to be the first to do something.
I don't know what to stop. I don't know what quit means. I don't know. What does that word is not in my vocabulary.
Stop. Can you talk about that for a little bit? I don't think they hear you on that. I think somebody needs to hear that.
Quit and stop needs to be X'd out of your vocabulary. Because with God, all things are possible. And his ways are not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts. So it's a possibility that he has something planned for you. But you just got to go for it. And if it don't work, so what? You still got breath. You better be using that breath and stuff that you got to go on and do something else. You ever notice that some of these celebrities start out, like I say Jamie Foxx started out as a comedian, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Played basketball and whatever. But his whole goal was to be an actor and to be on stage. Didn't he had to do all that stuff before he even he had to make some money being a comedian before he Will Smith. I'm just giving you these big names because these people didn't start out like that.
Yes, ma'am.
But we also have to be careful about who we connect ourselves to going up.
That's
because
important.
I do know with the Oprah thing, when I got there, they did ask me to, we had to go through a psychology study and all that kind of stuff like that before they put you on TV to make sure you had a sound mind. It was so crazy when I did go in, the therapist was from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm down in LA. She said, I'm from Wyoming. I was like, what? So it's just a thing where you make choices. Do you want to control your own life, or do you want somebody? Everybody think I'm a rap, so I want to be a big old star. Don't you hear all this crazy stuff with them going on? They're going to tell you who to marry. They're going to tell you who to have, all this kind of stuff. So I had my ground. I got a chance when I was on Oprah to, I think my first thing was with Dr. Phil. My first collaboration on the show was a segment with Dr. Phil, who was very awesome, because I was the oldest person in this contest. And so Dr. Phil, somebody said something in reference to me being my age or something, one of the contestants, and he was like, now listen, y'all better back up off of Aunt Flora. She got more knowledge in her head than anybody in this room. So he said, she knows what's going on. But I got a chance to meet Dr. Phil. I got a chance to meet Vera Wang, who is the most famous designer. I got something signed from her for, my daughter at the time was in the bridal business. So it was just kind of ironic. I would say my lasting memory would be Arsenio Hall, because the stunt that I did with Arsenio Hall, he had to pick me up and carry me on stage. It was, yeah, it was it was a lot. It was a lot, but my mind wasn't really so prepared for all the stuff that we experienced during that contest. But I just know that I had the opportunity to experience it, but I had also the opportunity to know when to stop.
That's deep. That's powerful.
Because Do you want to be your own boss along with the Lord, or do you want to have someone that gives you like a whole lot of money, but they control your life? I said, let me just, because they give you opportunities now. The opportunities are there. But it's a thing where, you know what? I think I just go on back to Cincinnati and do my thing. And, you know, if I have my stuff in some stores or whatever the case may be, that'll work. But if I go higher into the millions and millions of dollars, I'm not selling my soul. I'm not going to do that. So it's a whole lot of stuff. So you just got to, whatever you want. If that's what you want, then you better take 100 Bibles with you and Jesus alone, because there's going to be some different things in your life. So I just wanted to be Aunt Flora, and I'm good with, you know, I haven't even had, I have a lot of opportunities. I haven't even had a chance to put my stuff in the stores, because that's a whole nother thing. When I was going to different stores to put my products in there, they were like, yes, you put it in the store, we get a percentage, but you manage it. You come back. If the stuff don't sell or anything, you come back and get it and take the stuff out and do whatever you're going to do with it. We don't get rid of it. People ask me all the time, why didn't you have your stuff in the stores? Why didn't you? So maybe it's changed since I was doing it in the 2010, 7, but that's how it worked when I was there. Why is your stuff not in Kroger's? Well, I'm not going back and get anything. I'm not going to try to, you know, they get a good cut of what you make. So, I mean, unless you're really, 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 really big, you know, like right now, maybe things have changed because times are different now. But I'm a local person. I mean, I'm someone who want to capture my community around me. I want to be in a position where I can tell you how to cook something, or how the mom down the street can contact Aunt Flora and how did you make your pork chop? How did you do this? How did you make that? That's kind of like where I'm getting ready to try to do a cooking segment. And I really want to focus on young mothers who have children and they have siblings that are old enough to cook for themselves and show them how to make meals that's going to basically help them while mama's at work, or help follow, you know, the kids come home, they have this and that. I want to be able to, there's a lot of mothers that are single, they got to work. They have a 13-year-old that's on the phone, going to sit down and watch TV while the people's running. I want them young people to know this is what I can show you how to do to help out your mom or your dad or whatever, grandma, auntie, whoever it is, to have these meals that are simple.
Yes, ma'am.
But fulfilling for your children. You know, I got all off on a different path. But anyway.
Oh no, that was good. They needed to hear that. And actually, that's actually, you know, I'm glad you're doing that, because a lot of young mothers, especially nowadays, they don't take the time to even learn how to cook, you know. And there's not a lot of people offering them classes to know how to cook soul food. You know, they learn how to cook everything else.
I think we have a thing in our mind that, like with greens, it's quicker for me to just go ahead and get this can. But if that's all you know, if that's all you can do, baby, do it, warm it up, make it presentable for your kids, and they got a meal. We got to stop trying to put in our kids' head. Some people don't want to know how to cook because they think it's too complicated. But there's some things that you can do that are more simple.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And so back to being out of Northgate for 2 years.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. I want to know, that's crazy, because that was my next question. So I want to know, what is the feeling? What feelings do you have after experiencing everything that you didn't experience, losing your store for 2 years? How does that, like, what are the feelings that come up? Because you talked, you know, a little bit about that. So just kind of go into detail about that. How does that feel for you? And what are you doing now? Like, what are you in the process of doing to, you know, for that?
So leaving out of the store gave me a chance to kind of regroup who I am and where I want to travel and what I want to do, which really gives me that thing about working with young mothers on because I go in the grocery store and I see carts and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, if you just got these 4 things, you only need 4 things to make a meal. And so it's like God is just giving me like, go ahead and do your thing, but you got to reach out to somebody else too. And it's really difficult living a lifestyle when you have to be challenged, when you don't have what, you don't have your financial stability that you used to. And then you want to know, you're praying that someone comes across your path. You know what? It's the funny thing is we have so much pride because we don't want people to realize that we're human. We want people to know that, yeah, you got all that money and you doing all this thing, but you know what? It's about being real. And with me, what you see is what you get. I'm so grateful and thankful to God that the path that he's led me on. And now I'm in a new chapter. Our plans with this building are I feel like it's going to take a village for us to make this work. So we financially did all that we could do. And it's like a lot of people know you, but a lot of people don't reach out. They wait till everything's completed, then they might come. So I told my husband, I said, you know what? We ain't banking. We ain't doing none of that loan. We ain't doing none of that stuff. Because I don't want to owe, I'm 75 years old. I don't want to owe people going to my grave. I don't want to do that. So what we need to do now is just pray that God would bring people into our circle that would realize what we're trying to do and assist us in doing it. So that's how our building has been completely gutted right now. So now, and we've bought all new equipment and all stuff that's just sitting in there. So now what we need to do is we need to do the build out on the building. And the build out consists of new HVAC, new electric, new walls, new plumbing, new flooring, and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to go into debt doing that. Our Cobblers put us on the map for other ventures that we've done. And I'm praying that they're going to put us on the map again with this venture that we're doing. So we created a cobbler pie-a-thon. You know how they had them a-thons where people just contribute, and they got this big thermometer where it goes up the wall till you reach your goal.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's what we've been working on for quite a while, is just trying to, and you've been a blessing, helping us out. And my mind goes like 1,000 miles away. So I'm like, okay, that needs to be changed. Okay, we need to do this. Okay, we need to do that. I'm like, these folks, and the young lady that I'm working with from Key Spot.
Yes, ma'am.
Cynthia has been a blessing. It's just, I mean, I think sometimes there's been a couple of organizations that I've been connected with, but I kind of had to just back away a little bit because I think I'm just an older set of group. And I think in this day and time that organizations need to recognize I don't want to say the legends, the people that have gone a long way and, achieved a whole lot, but it's kind of like you just kind of get, you're older and we got a lot of new people coming along. So they're the ones that we're going to focus on. But like I said, I'm not a quitter. So I don't care how old I am. I'm going to focus on something using the talents and gifts that God has given me. So this is going to be a restaurant bakery, Aunt Flora's Kitchen and Cobbler Pie Company. So we're going to be doing the cobblers, but other different types of old school desserts. The food is going to be more comfort, any kind of comfort food. I don't care if it's Cajun, if it's Creole, if it's Southern. That's the kind of stuff that we're going to be doing. There's going to be a sit down area of the restaurant where you can come and sit down. We have our own line of coffees, gourmet coffees that you're not, it's made from a barista that I asked to create it from the cobblers that I make. So that's the flavor of coffees that we have. So our fundraiser is going to start. People can place orders right now. So it's a thing where we have different segments of our different divisions of our fundraiser, which is the first one is going to be have a cup of cobbler. So if you've never had any Aunt Flora's cobblers before, you can come and purchase a cup of cobbler starting on the 23rd of this month at Key Spot. Key Spot is allowing us to be able to have people place their orders, and because our building is not done, so you can't go in that building.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
So it's like we had to find another temporary location where people can pick their stuff up where they can place their orders. So the cup of cobbler is going to start on the 23rd, where you can go to Key Spot, and I'll be there, where you can get a cup of cobbler and you can place your contribution at the same time. So like if you contribute $60, you will get a 9-inch gourmet deep dish peach or apple cobbler. And then the other thing is, if you want a cobbler, you don't really want to buy a cobbler, well, you can get like 4 or 5 people to purchase to contribute $60 and get one of the cobblers, and then we'll give you one free.
Oh, I love that. And they are good. Let me add that in there, because I've had them myself. So
yeah, I appreciate it. And then we have another thing where another division where it's we're doing a like a discount card for the restaurant when it opens. So like if you contribute $100, you'll get 10% off of your products and purchases at the new restaurant, and you can have that 10% off for 30 days. The next level is $300. You get 20% off, and then there's a $500 contribution. You'll get 20% off, and then there's a $1,000 contribution, and you will get a 25% off. But that's going to be for a whole year. You get that discount for a whole year. And we also are going to be selling our. We have a gift basket that we're trying to get people to purchase, which has all of our stuff in one basket. It has a t-shirt, it has an Aunt Flora apron, it has our spices, our sauces, our coffee, and a cutting board. We have an Aunt Flora's cutting board. And everything will be in that basket, or you can purchase the stuff separately. So
now when you say separately, talk about that so people know how can they purchase it separately. So like say if they was wanted to purchase something from you, but
so
how can they go about doing that? Or are you on any platforms or anything? Are you on Instagram, YouTube, or any?
I am on Instagram. Right now, I'm working with Cynthia to get our webpage up and running so people can pay. If they want to order online, they can pay through PayPal.
Okay.
And if not, let's see. Okay, so our cobbler pie t-shirts are going to be $36.
Okay.
And our cobbler pie aprons are going to be $26.
Yes, ma'am.
And then we have 3 different sizes of Aunt Flora's cutting boards. And they start at $29 for small, $49 for medium, and $69 for the large. So the other thing, like I said, if a person doesn't want to do any of that, they just want to contribute $60, then they will get that 9-inch deep dish cobbler pie. But if they get others to buy to contribute $60, then they can get theirs for free. Okay. So we're working. Go ahead.
Oh, that's no question. No, I just want to ask for anybody wondering. So say if somebody can't make it to Key Spot, is there another way that they can contribute to you instead of if like, because some people might not have PayPal, but what are all the ways that they can contribute to you if they wanted to? Like say if somebody watching and they're like, you know what, I want to contribute. They might be in Jamaica, I don't know, but they want to contribute to you. How can they do that?
What they can do is they can call us. The number is 513-227-7938, or they can email us with their contribution, and we can take their credit card number and just go from there.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. You can go. I mean, I interrupt.
Oh, that's okay.
I'll be
What
wondering
email
that.
address did I give you? The email address is Aunt Flora's Cobblers at yahoo.com.
Now, the one I have is Aunt Flora's at yahoo.com. Is that both of them work? Okay.
Yeah. That's where I get all my business stuff, the Aunt Flora's. But if somebody wants to do like an order or make a contribution, Aunt Flora's Cobblers. So there's an S on the end of Flora's and an S on the end of Cobblers, and it's at yahoo.com.
Thank you for that. And now, can you
and
let
if they
them know
leave their information, like the contact number and stuff like that, we'll be glad to call them back.
Thank you. And can you let them know where Key Spot location is if they are interested in coming?
You know what?
That's okay. Take your time.
Let's see.
I just want to make sure that they have all the information so they can get to you if they want to get to you, if they want to donate, however they want to donate, that they can.
It's important for Key Spot. Key Spot is located in the community of Woodlawn in Cincinnati, Ohio, and their address is 10088 Springfield Pike, Suite 1, Cincinnati, Ohio 45215. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Oh, you are so welcome. Yeah, we're praying to be able to get on some. We need to get on some TV spots. As time has changed and COVID has come, the communication that I had with some of the TV stations, people have changed. So we're trying to make that connection. We're probably going to be, I've talked to Lincoln Ware, I've talked to the Cincinnati Herald, those individuals, Channel 19. I used to do cooking demonstrations for 19. So we're waiting to just hear back from everybody so we can just really get the word out about what's going on. Curtis Fuller for Channel 5. So we got a lot of things going on. If there's anybody out there that has any experience in being a campaign manager, contact us. The old lady wants to stay in the kitchen.
I know that's right. I love that. I love that. She said, I want to stay where I'm great at. I understand.
Let me tell you something. That's my space right there. The computer and all that kind of stuff. I know the language and everything and try to get the kids to help every now and then, but I get a little overwhelmed when I got to go on and try to figure out. And I'm thinking, why isn't this a recipe? Why isn't this? Why can't I cook myself into that space? But
I understand that.
To God be the glory for my husband. We've been married almost 40 years. And we've gone through some stuff with his health. But God is totally riding on our back. I mean, he really is, because I know people that have passed away from less things than this. I tell you, there is a God. There is a God. Without my husband's help, I don't know. We're like two peas in a pot. People tease us because we dress the same all the time. We always have on the same outfits, the same everything. Same glasses, same clothes, same shoes. We've been doing this for so long. People tease us all the time. But I'm just saying that because it's like we are one, you know? And it's not easy to work with your spouse because I'm a hard boss to deal with. And he knows, but he just kind of backs up. But his intelligence, his grammar, and his social media and the things that I'm not really, it's not my forte. Yes, that's something he can do. But if there's young people out there that husbands and wives are working together, just know to stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. If you stay in your lane, it's just like when you drive in a car, you got to stay in your lane, and you know you'll probably get there successfully. But when you try to come over on my lane and that's not the gift God gave you, we're gonna have a problem. Stay in your lane. He knows he's not cooking. I showed him how to make some of my, he's my social media person, my public relation person. And since I've had some situations going on with my hands and some of my limbs and stuff, he basically has become my my prep person, my sous chef. He cuts and dice and does all that kind of stuff like for me. So if there's couples out there that feel like God has given you a gift to work together, the only way it's going to work is if you leave him be in the middle. If he's in the middle and y'all all clutch arms together, it's going to work. It's going to work. But you got to understand, you two different people. You ain't going to always think the same. You ain't always going to do things the same. But I will tell you what, excuse me, it can work. It can definitely work. I can't say with us being married almost 40 years that it's been peaches and creams, because it hasn't.
Yes, ma'am.
But don't be young and give up on a gift that God might have given you. Because a lot of times we don't get along in the first few years. But it's much, if you ain't being beaten, hit down and all that kind of stuff, and physically and verbally abused, it's just that y'all don't agree on things, work that thing out. Because I'm telling you, when you go into business, it's so much easier when you have that other person. And I can tell you, I have to tell my husband a lot of times, babe, sit down. Babe, just, not right now. Or don't. He's like, girl, I'm saying, but please, let me have my little bit of space and I can do this and we'll come back and have a powwow. But I'm telling you, a lot of us that have businesses, I mean, I don't really want a partner because I've been there and done that. That don't always work. Yeah. Oh, excuse me, I'm talking so much, but it's a thing where when you have another partner, it's different than your partner. You know what I mean? If two ladies join up together on a business, it don't always work. It doesn't always pan out. And even with two guys, it doesn't always pan out. But when you have a spouse, you're married, let me say that again, you're married, and you just basically have an idea, or even your husband might come up with an idea, and you might be a stay-at-home mom is like, oh, shoot. And everybody don't have to start out in no daggone brick and mortar either.
Yes, that's important.
You don't have to always start out in the brick and mortar. I'm going to do a business, so I'm going to try to finally, then you just going into debt for nothing at the very beginning. Work your way up.
Yes, ma'am.
And it doesn't have to be in, this elaborate, you got to start somewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
You have to start somewhere. So if you're in your own kitchen, I heard a guy today about the video cooking shows. He was just like, we started in this lady's apartment kitchen. It was really small and we could only do such and such, but as she grew, she was there. And I'm a witness. Starting in my little condo in Price Hill, and I had pies all over the place. But I had people, I'll meet you at McDonald's and I'll give you your pies and you give me my money. At the time, it wasn't so much credit cards and stuff like that, It was basically a cash thing.
The cash transactions, yes, ma'am.
Which led us into being able to get a $500 a month place to start cooking. And then you build from there. And then you don't open a business and start using your money right now. You don't make money that day and go shopping. You sacrifice. That's what you do. You sacrifice. You make that money, you put it someplace where you can buy your supplies and stuff like that, and start slow and work your way up. And I've seen some young people here in the city do that. I mean, I don't know where they're getting their money from, but they seem like they got it going on. But I know my husband, I always say, we trendsetters.
Hey, most definitely is,
We trendsetters, because I got to say it. I'm sorry. Cobblers been out for many, many millions of years, down in the slavery times and all that kind of stuff, and all up the line. But people weren't making cobblers for a business.
True. That's true.
People when they might sell a pie, but they wasn't doing no cobblers.
I was about to say, I done heard pie lady and cake lady, but not a cobbler lady. That's different.
Yeah. And I know now everywhere you look around, people selling cobblers. But it wasn't no cobblers when we started. At least not for a business. I say for a business.
Yes,
They might
ma'am.
have been doing it in their grandmama kitchen, but they wasn't trying to do it. There's no business in no store,
Yes, ma'am.
you know. And so people have come many times trying to find out how I do what I do, where's my, you know, and stuff like that. And then they branch off and do their own thing. And that's
Mm,
all well and good. Because once again, what I say is what God has for me is for me. You can try the same
mm.
thing, but it might not be the same thing.
That part. That part. I love that. And so man, you gave us some jewels today for people, especially young people, leaving my age, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't think about things as being one. And when you talked about you and your partner being one and giving space as being one, that's a big thing nowadays.
Oh, well, let me just tell you, you have to. You have to have space from each other. If you're gonna stay together, you go and create your thing. You do, because I'm gonna tell you, I've been married almost 40 years. My husband gave me a pager when we first got married.
Mm.
He gave me a pager. While he was at work, he was paging me saying, "Where you at? What you doing?"
That's how it is. They want to know you okay, you good.
Grew.
I ain't heard from you.
How we grew. And I'm
Oh,
telling you, that was the craziest thing for me. I'm like, dude, where do you think I'm going? And you got a pager. You got me having a pager so you can. But it was, you know, I look back over those times now, and it's just like as I look back over my life and I think things over, I can truly say that I have a testimony. I have a testimony. I have a husband that's had 3 brain surgeries, 3 heart surgeries, both hips replaced, 2 double hernia surgeries, and just recently a knee surgery, knee replacement. You tell me there, what you gonna? You can't tell me there ain't. And he's still here, looking like a picture of health. Yeah,
that ain't nothing but blessings right there. If ain't nobody, if y'all ain't heard nothing else on here, that ain't nothing but blessings. I might have to bring Aunt Flora back for a part 2, so we can get to, you know, talk, because she has.
I'm telling you,
because the mindset that you have to deal with that, like
that. And if anybody's been a caregiver before, they know what I'm talking about. They know what I'm talking about. And here's another little tidbit before we go. If you got somebody in your family that's sick and you love them, and you have the ability to stick with them, don't let them go in that hospital by themselves. You need a person that can speak for you, that can look out for you. When my husband had his heart surgery, I was sleeping in the bed next to him. I told him, when he go, I got to go. And we always say when he goes in the hospital, they say, my wife got to have a bed. Because they treat a thing that you're there for. You're treating him for his brain tumor. They're not thinking that medicine they're going to give him for his brain pain is going to stop this artery in this heart. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am. That's crazy.
So I'm waking up saying, hold on a minute. And I'm just saying, you need an advocate. I don't even know where this is coming from, but somebody
need to hear it.
You need an advocate. Ask questions. Don't be intimidated by the doctors, the nurses, the assistants, the cleaning people. Say whatever God lays on your heart. That's you. That's your person. That's your person. I go in there with my journal, with a book. I'm asking, what's your name? What do you do? When did he have? Yeah. Because why do you think a lot of people leave here and you don't even know half the time if they're telling you the truth, what they died from? Okay, and I'm gonna leave that alone.
No, that's true. That's why I said we're gonna have to do a number 2, because I could get yes, that's so true.
So
when it comes to that, I can talk about that part of, because I don't even take medicine, so I could definitely talk about that, you know. Oh, look at y'all, see him shop. When was that?
It's after church. We always wear the same thing.
Oh, that is nice. When was that? Was that recently?
Yeah, it was after church, probably about 2 months ago.
Oh man, y'all was sharp. Y'all see, she said, I knew y'all, you said y'all dressed alike, and you said, you know, with the color, but you didn't say y'all get sharp alike. You know what I mean? Y'all don't just get dressed alike. Oh, y'all do. And y'all match each other flat. Look at that.
Yeah, we
and how long have you been married? 40 years?
Yeah. Yeah. This is the last one.
Oh no, you're okay. Oh, I like that. Now, where was that at?
It was
Right
at a
there.
birthday party.
Where you get that jacket from, Queen? I love that jacket.
Online.
Oh
When
my
I ordered
God.
something for me, I ordered for him.
Oh my God. I know he loved when you ordered on it. I know you like, yeah, I
He
know
gets
my
up
baby
every
got.
morning. He say, "Babe, what we putting on?"
Hey, I thought I know he do like, yeah, baby. I know you got us. I know you do.
And
He
my
loved
daughter, my
that.
granddaughter was here, and she was just like, "Y'all ain't even going anywhere. Y'all in the house, and y'all still got the same thing on." Because our sweatshirts, our t-shirts,
Oh,
carry to the limit.
everything.
But yeah, it's a blessing.
That's a beautiful thing. We'll go on and
Yeah.
on. I
Okay.
just want to tell you that if ain't nobody else told you, just to see you at your age still pushing and telling us not to give up and saying, like, I want people to really understand this because we have a lot of young people that think, that like when you said like don't stop,
Oh yeah.
don't give up and don't stop earlier in the podcast, you was talking about that. Like you said, you don't know what it's like to stop. And so
And
for you to say
I
that
see
at
people
your
in the grocery
age.
store. They say they don't want to say hi. They say, "Hey, Aunt Flora, what you doing now?
Oh,
What you
one
doing
moment.
now?"
I apologize. I forgot this my
That's okay.
one moment. I forgot I had somebody pulling up. One moment, real quick. My apologies.
That's
Uh,
okay.
that's okay. But
That's all
no,
right.
you have been a blessing on here,
You've been
and
a blessing to
anybody
me,
that's
baby.
to each other. We've been a blessing to each
Yeah,
other.
yeah. I mean, if we can confess that we Black power and we all this Black, let's just prove it.
Yes, ma'am.
Just
And
prove
this
it.
is what it's about, y'all coming together and working together. Because she
Because we
also
ain't
said
gonna never
something.
have nothing like every other nationality. We ain't gonna have nothing if we think that we can't do it. But if we do it in numbers, we can accomplish something. We can't be jealous of that other person getting something and we don't know what we're going to do. Figure it out. But in the meantime, this sister's door is open. Help her. While you going to all them other restaurants where the white people's cooking and stuff, just get a Black person a chance. We can't get anywhere if we don't patronize each other. We ain't gonna never have nothing. The Mexicans, the Chinese, everybody else. And look at us. You know why? Because we want to just have it and we don't want the other Black person to really necessarily. Come on, y'all. Come on.
We trying
Let's
to
get
baby
together.
stuff and hold on to stuff. We gotta let it go. From here on out, we about to get out here. I want to leave y'all with this. Like Aunt Flora just said, we gotta stop babying stuff. We gotta stop hiding stuff. Stop thinking that, we gotta keep things in secret. Like, oh, I gotta keep it here. I want to get here before you. Nobody's path is the same. What's for you is for you. Can't nobody
Crazy what
take
it be
away what's for you.
not be transparent, and I need you.
Yes, ma'am.
I got to be transparent and tell you where I'm at.
Yes,
you can't
ma'am.
read my mind. I don't care if you say, "Oh yeah, she thinks she's something," or "She done had this and she done been this and she done did that." Oh well. But you don't always. What goes up must come down sometimes, right?
Yes, ma'am. That's it.
I ain't
And,
all the way down there because I ain't receiving it. I'm all the way down there.
that part. Yes,
I
ma'am.
ain't receiving
You're
that.
right.
But
Well,
if we open our hearts and minds and say, you know what? If he can do it for her, he can do it for me. So let's pull it together. Let's pull it together and have a positive mind about helping each other instead of thinking, well, I got my own thing. Do you know when God blesses somebody else and he sees you blessing somebody, do you know that he's going to come back and triple what you're trying to do?
Yes, ma'am. You're right. And before we go, because I don't want to just leave without everybody hearing this, make sure that y'all reach out to Aunt Flora's Cobblers at yahoo.com. Also, if y'all want to donate and you don't have PayPal or you can't email or you can't make it up there to Woodlawn, feel free to call 513-227-7938. Okay. And she can take the order over the phone.
Yeah.
Okay, so we looking for funding. Order for any village to grow, even flowers, plants, food, anybody. It takes a village, y'all. So let's come together, take a village, and give, donate. We always worry about asking, but we got to be able to give in order to receive. So
make
this
that
is that
contribution,
time, y'all.
please. Make that
Keep asking
contribution.
y'all. In
Email,
April,
phone, however
yes,
you have to do it. I'll be glad to explain to you exactly how our contributions work if you need me to.
yes, ma'am. And April the 23rd, cup of cobbler. Okay. Yep. Come and get a cup of cobbler up there in Woodline. And Aunt Flora, y'all get to see her in person, meet her, you know. Take a picture if you want to, but come and get a cup of cobbler. And if I gotta say, for people that don't eat meat, I'm gonna recommend the pastry cobbler because I ate it myself and it was great. And so I'm gonna come and get a cup of cobbler on the 23rd. I'm gonna make sure I mark that on my calendar.
Right. And when you come and get the cup of cobbler, you can place your contribution at that same time. Yes,
ma'am. And so that's what I like. Come and get a cup of cobbler, place your contribution. Aunt Flora, thank you again for joining us. It really was a pleasure. And we definitely gonna bring you back. Don't forget, y'all, April the 23rd. Be up there.
From 12, it's gonna be from 12 noon to I think to 6, 12 to 6.
Basically all day. So ain't nobody got no excuse.
Right.
All
and
day.
Let me just say,
yes, ma'am.
Baby doll, in the name of Jesus, you keep doing what you're doing. Because I know that you got a blessing coming in store. You have helped me. You have done stuff for me. You ain't said, it's going to cost this. Well, you said, where can I help you? What can I do? And you have done it. And just know that on your shoulders, other people can just rely and depend on you. And God is going to give you something, oh my God, unbelievable, for you just being who you are. I say, God bless you, God keep you, and I love you. Oh,
I love you more. Thank y'all. She's gonna have me on here crying, y'all. Now y'all know Queen A don't like to cry on the show, so but no, thank you so much for being.
You're welcome, sweetie. Thanks for bearing with me.
Oh, that's okay for bearing with me too, because one thing about, so I want y'all to know, me and Aunt Flora is alike. So we both are like strong personalities.
Yeah.
So like we are very strong personalities. So thank you. We had to bear with each other, like, and we gonna continue to bear with each other. And that's what I want y'all to know, because this ain't the end. And so Queen A is gonna keep contributing, and I hope y'all contribute as well. Okay.
Thank you,
if nobody else love y'all know I can't end without saying this. Y'all know Queen A does. Thank you, Aunt Flo. We appreciate it.
Sweetie.
And we'll see you April the 23rd from noon to 6 p.m. in Woodline.
Yes,
a key spot. Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.